Jadi saya masih bahasa Indonesia ya, habis pengen ditentang.
sayang?
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. May I have your attention, please? Soon we are going to start the webinar, and we would like also to kindly request for all the participants to not activate the microphone during the meeting during this event today. Your cooperation will be highly appreciated. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor for me to introduce and give a warm welcome to our distinguished guest today, Dr. Kasan, Director General of National Export Development, Ministry of Trade Indonesia, Professor Dr. Nunung Nuryartono, the Dean of Faculty of Economics and Management, IPB University, Dr. Sahara, the Head of Economics Department, Faculty of Economics and Management, IPB University, all the speakers in today's seminar, Dr. Fitra Faisal Hastiadi, spokesperson of Ministry of Trade Indonesia, Faculty of Economics and Business, University of Indonesia, Associate Professor Dr. Norma Swana Ismail, School of Business and Economics, University Putra Malaysia, Dr. Ken Phut Nguyen, School of Banking, University of Economic, Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, Professor Dr. Muhammad Firdaus, Economics Department, Faculty of Economics and Management, IPB University. Also, all of the participants, as well as Southeast Asia International Trade and Finance Association colleagues from Asian countries. We are so delighted to welcome all of you to this international webinar, Export Acceleration Lessons Learned from ASEAN Countries. As the short brief to start this international webinar, this event is organized to bring the expertise representative from ASEAN countries to give the updated discussion about the potential development and recent issues of international trade, especially in Asian countries during the current COVID-19 pandemic. Also, there will be the soft launching of Southeast Asia International Trade and Finance Association, or we can call it SITFA, in this webinar. Now let us entering the first session on this webinar. which is a welcoming speech that will be delivered by the Dean of the Faculty of Economics and Management, IPB University, Professor Dr. Nunung Nuryartono. Directly after the welcoming speech, Professor Dr. Nunung Nuryartono will also lead the soft launching of the Southeast Asia International Trade and Finance Association, or SITFA. Professor Dr. Nunung Nuryartono, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Mbak Muti. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The Honorable keynote speech, Dr. Kasan, the DG National Expert Development, Ministry of Trade, Republic of Indonesia. And then all speakers, Dr. Fitra is one of my best friend. We were together in Australia for almost 2 weeks, having a international training in Australia. And then Associate Professor Dr. Norma from UBM, Dr. Can Pu Nguyen from University of Economic Ho Chi Minh, Vietnam, Professor Firdaus, and all colleagues from Department of Economics, all participants of this webinar. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and warm Indonesia welcome to this opening international webinar of export acceleration, lesson learned from ASEAN countries, which is broadly presented by Economic Department, Faculty of Economic and Management, and CFTA. We really do hope that you, your family, and communities are keeping safe and well amidst the pandemic COVID-19. McKinsey released interesting report. Why ASEAN? There are 7 things that we have to know about ASEAN. First, ASEAN is the economic of powerhouse. Second, in ASEAN, it is not monolithic market. Third, in ASEAN countries, macroeconomic stability is one of important platform for economic growth. Fourth, ASEAN countries as a hub for consumer demand. Fifth, ASEAN countries also have a well positioned in global trade flow. Sixth, there is intra-regional trade. And the last one, home of many globally competitive companies. There are 7 reasons that we have to know about ASEAN. And currently, ASEAN also the 5th largest economies in the world, consists of 10 countries. As a region, ASEAN is world fastest growing market. And then ASEAN experienced successfully diversified their main export. As we also may know that the member of ASEAN countries as a center of production, like for example, Indonesia and Malaysia, almost more than 80 to 90% share global market for palm oil. And then ASEAN countries like Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, Vietnam, also important rubber producer in the world. So if we work together, if we have a good synergy, then we can also rule the world market of the different commodities. In different countries like Singapore, it is also leading exporters of electronic. Thailand has joined the rank of leading vehicle and automotive part exporter. And the Philippines itself has established a thriving business process outsourcing industry. Ladies and gentlemen, while it has promising potential, the situation is significantly different in 2020, as we may witness together that the outbreak due to the COVID-19 pandemic, it is really unprecedented disruption to the global economy and world trade. There is a sudden shock, there is a sudden that all activities globally have a sudden stop. Production and consumption are scaled back across the globe. It is definitely affecting economic growth, not just only each country, but also global economic growth, as well as international trade pattern. Amid the uncertainty, there is a clear need to keep trade flowing, both to ensure the supply of product and to send a signal of confidence from the global economy. On the other hand, the ensuing US and China trade war and the COVID-19 pandemic has accelerated the moving of global value chain out of China into other regional hubs. And ASEAN countries can utilize this opportunity to grab the bigger market sharing in the global value chain. Some of the export processing zone, like for example, Singapore, Indonesia, are being established across ASEAN. The Batam Free Trade Zone, Singapore, Indonesia, and then the Tan Huang Export Processing Zone, Vietnam, the Tanjung Mas Export Processing Zone, Indonesia, the Port Klang Free Zone, Malaysia, the Southern Regional Industrial Estate, Thailand, and Chilawa Special Economic Zone, Myanmar, are all expected to propel export growth. To stay current with the potential development and recent issues of export, especially in ASEAN countries, I believe that this international webinar of export acceleration, lesson learned, ASEAN countries, which is held today, will bring a timely and strategic response to how utilize the opportunities among ASEAN countries members. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that by participating in this webinar, we are in the right place and the time. Together, let us accelerate the exchange ideas and scaling up of good practices on export acceleration. Faculty of Economic and Management, IBB University, is also very enthusiastic and warmly welcome this initiative in bringing closer partnership between international trade academia, policymaker, and national trade and finance association. With this, we call it CIFA. It's pretty difficult, but it is very sexy name. It is expected that CIFA will. We cannot just stay alone. We have to collaborate. We have to synergy. We have to share all knowledge. We also have a hand in hand among ASEAN countries member. By saying Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, the international webinar of export acceleration, lesson learned from ASEAN countries. And I do really hope once we finish this webinar, we have to have a good roadmap on this organization and association to implement all ideas, to work together. I congratulate to all the CIFA members. Wish you all this webinar. Thank you very much for all committee who already work hard preparing this important webinar. Billahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Nunung Nuriyartono. And also now we would like to give us more information about the mission, programs, and all other aspects related to CIDFA. Here's the video. Ladies and gentlemen, to complete the launching of CIDFA, I would like to invite our distinguished guests as well as our participants and also CIDFA colleagues to do the photography sessions. We would like to kindly request all of the participants in this meeting to turn on the camera so we can do the photography session.
Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So now we will have a photo session, and I will give cue for screen 1. Please hold your position. Smile. Excellent. Screen 2. Okay, so we have several screens. Please bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. So now screen 3. Screen 4. I think all of the cameras are off. Okay, so thank you. I think that's enough, Bumuti. Back to you.
Thank you very much for helping me to taking the picture. Now we have finished the photography session, and next we will be very enthusiastic to move to the next session, which is the keynote speech from Dr. Kasan, Director General of National Export Development, Ministry of Trade Indonesia. But unfortunately, Dr. Kasan is unable to join on this meeting now because he has another responsibility. However, in order to give the keynote speech, he already prepared a video for us. Here's the video of the keynote speech from Dr. Kasan.
He is now in Turkey.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Honorable Professor Nunung Nuryantono, Dean of Faculty of Economics and Management, IPB University, is my best friend. Distinguished speakers, Dr. Fitra Faisal from Faculty of Economics and Business, Universitas Indonesia. He is also my best friend. Associate Professor Normas Wana Ismail from Faculty of Economics and Management, University Putra Malaysia. Dr. Chan Phuc Nguyen from School of Banking, University of Economics, Ho Chi Minh City. And also my best friend, Professor Muhammad Firdaus from Department of Economics, Faculty of Economics and Management, IPB University. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you all. First of all, kindly allow me to thank the Faculty of Economics and Management, IPB University, for having me today and to congratulate its success in organizing this international webinar, Export Acceleration, Lesson Learned from ASEAN Countries. This webinar is such a strategic effort to bring together the ideas from both scientific and practical aspects in order to formulate recommended solutions to answer the export-related issues that we are facing. I am indeed delighted to be here and honored to deliver our remarks. I could sense the enthusiasm to discuss and to learn from each other in ways to accelerate export and to enhance the overall regional economic growth. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to start by highlighting some points of my remarks today. First is about the pandemic's effect on global trade, including on Indonesia international trade and China international trade as ASEAN biggest trade partner. Second will be the export acceleration among ASEAN countries, and the last, factors determining the acceleration. During these pandemics, the global economics and trade area are slowing down. The impact of COVID-19 pandemic on global trade and some of its mitigation, such as first, change in global trade pattern as a result of disrupted supply and demand chains, the prohibitions of export and import of some foods and health commodities, and disturbance at the center of global supply chains in China, the US, and Germany. Second, increasing trend of protectionism by several countries. The third, trade cooperation which not functioned effectively during the pandemic. And the last, looming threat of global economic recession. Fortunately, Indonesia trade balance in period of January to October this year is experiencing a surplus of 17 billion US dollars. During this period, Indonesia exports still decreased by 5.6%, while the import side contracted by 19%. Indonesia main trading partner during this period are China 19%, USA 12%, Japan 8%, India and Singapore around 6%. Despite the uncertainties of major trading countries fall into trade tensions and begin creating some adverse impact on others, fortunately Indonesia is able to gain surplus for last few months respectively. For more specific insights, Indonesia export to China still increased significantly of 8.7% year on year. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, for Indonesia, China is an often wide market. This is shown in Indonesia export data where China almost always topped the standings. Even during this pandemic, when China began to raise and accelerate its economy, Indonesia was also affected. The sharp performance of Indonesia export during the pandemic, one of which come from the growing demand for raw and auxiliary goods from Indonesia and the majority of ASEAN countries. Indonesia main export product to China include vegetable oil, coal, berry alloys, and paper products. As one of the earliest countries affected by COVID-19, China then took quite repressive step in controlling the spread of the disease by implementing lockdown in some of its regions. However, that policy did not have a prolonged impact on its trade performance. China was quite successful in maintaining its foreign trade performance. Despite the deficit China experienced in the first 2 months of 2020, China trade balance recorded a surplus of $75.4 billion in November 2020, compared to a surplus of $58.4 billion in previous months. The success in controlling the spread of disease while maintaining the performance of its national economy has subsequently led China to become a determined country of global trade recovery. As mentioned earlier, that China is Indonesia's main trading partner. I believe this stage is also applied to the other ASEAN countries. In 2019, China was on top of ASEAN export country destination with share around 14.2%, followed by the US with 13% share. And what about the import side? Likewise, China was also on top of standing of the ASEAN import country of origin with 21.9%. This figure reflects the close relationship in trade between ASEAN countries and China. So therefore, since China has become a determined country of global trade recovery, it also will play an important role in terms of export acceleration for ASEAN countries. Ladies and gentlemen, the level of export acceleration among ASEAN countries in the future, especially by the end of COVID-19 pandemic, will be determined by the readiness of each country. This readiness includes the speed of market penetration facilitated by trade agreement, both on bilateral and multilateral scale. The main objective of the agreement, such as to bring economic relations to a higher level by reducing barriers and expanding economic relations through trade partnership. In addition, the objectives are to promote economic growth and equitable economic development through the creation of new opportunities for workers, business, and also improvement on the standard of living of the people, and to assist the expansion and the development of world trade under the multilateral trading system. In this regard, in November 15, 2020, Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, or RCEP, the world's biggest trade deal, has been signed by 15 countries, consists of 10 ASEAN countries and Australia, China, Korea, Spain, and New Zealand. In response to the pandemic, to accelerate economic recovery post-COVID-19, extraordinary steps are needed urgently. I humbly implore that we all should work together in turning this moment of crisis into opportunities, including learning from each other best practice. Acceleration, innovation, and collaboration are required to survive in this extraordinary situation. What is the biggest homework for Indonesia? And I think for most of countries is to increase competitiveness and penetration of our product in Chinese markets. Competitiveness also play an important role in determining a country's readiness to accelerate its export performance. Despite being the largest country in ASEAN in terms of trade with China, Indonesia is still behind Vietnam, Malaysia, Thailand, and Singapore. This is our biggest job as a nation, and to be sure, the government has been aware of all the obstacles and opportunities that are plunging us. Government investment in infrastructure, sustainable ecosystem development through Omnibus Law are some of the Indonesian government steps to be able to seize the opportunities that are scattered. As stated by President Joko Widodo, the pandemic that we are currently experiencing presents an opportunity. Work efficiency and also the abundance of benefits from the regional production chain networks are looking for a new balance. Do not let this momentum be lost again. In this case, China can present opportunities for an abundance of momentum, especially as they are indeed moving to the next level, namely creating high-tech products. By doing so, they leave a wide opportunity for China trading partner in the middle to lower category of products. Indonesia can fill this opportunity by participating more with China production chain networks. This can also be seen from the Trade Complementary Index data, which show that Indonesia and China products are increasingly become complementary to each other. In addition, I gladly inform you that the Ministry of Trade of the Republic of Indonesia has initiated the Export Acceleration Team that would work in accordance to the National Economic Recovery Scheme. The team will formulate an action plan to accelerate Indonesia export growth. I humbly invite all of you here to share your valuable recommendation and input to support our works. Ladies and gentlemen, talking about export readiness, recently it is also considered urgent to discuss the constraints faced by many exporters in many countries, including ASEAN countries. In the last few months, exporters began to raise issues regarding the scarcity of containers and shipping vessels. This scarcity then becomes a special issue which needs to be addressed. Aside from slowing down of the inflow of goods, this scarcity is also influenced by the activity of port and land transportation in a number of countries that have not run in their full capacity yet as the result of some restriction due to pandemic COVID-19. What is the effects? Currently, the company is facing problems related to the inventory handling and an increase in export costs as a result of the shifting the means of export delivery, inventory handling costs, etc. This increase in costs will ultimately affect export competitiveness, and it may be counterproductive in regards to boost export growth. I do hope today's event could bring some insights from academics, scientific, and practical sides to address such issues. Ladies and gentlemen, concluding my session, let me reiterate a number of important things that the collective political will to integrate more meaningfully and with urgency is crucial to ASEAN success. Knowing full well the risk of going our separate ways and also the benefit of integration, especially in the digital age, we cannot afford to dismiss initiatives that are difficult or incongruent with our past experience. If we can align our interests, even as we tackle long-standing or unfamiliar issues, ASEAN will stand a better chance at maintaining our growth trajectories and staying at the forefront of the global economy. Our next leg of economic integration is complex and will call on ASEAN to be even more united and creative in realizing the benefit of closer economic integration and connections. For us, this event is worth doing as one, and this is what our government is committed to do together with the rest of the ASEAN partners. Sit together, discussing for mutual progress. Last but not least, in this opportunity, I would also like to congratulate the soft launching of Southeast Asia International Trade and Finance Associations during this event. Thank you very much, and I wish you all a fruitful discussion and very successful seminar. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much for Dr. Kasans for preparing the video for us. Now we will enter the main session of this event, which is the discussion and also presentation from the speakers. I would like to invite our speakers, Dr. Fitra Faisal, Associate Professor Normaswana Ismail, Dr. Ken Fook Nguyen, and our moderator of the day, Dr. Tony Irawan from the Department of Economics at IPB University into this session. First, before we welcome the moderator, I would like to read the short CV of Dr. Tony Irawan. Dr. Tony Irawan was born in Jakarta, March 6, 1982, and he is the Secretary of the Department of Economics, Faculty of Economics and Management, IPB University. And the historical education from Dr. Tony Irawan. He was getting his PhD in economics from University of Wuppertal, Germany. And his master is Master in Applied Economics from University of Adelaide. And his bachelor degree is Bachelor in Economics, Bogor Agricultural University. The experience of Dr. Tony Irawan about research expert and consultant, I can read it from the slides. He works in Jakarta as the short-term consultant in 2008. He's also worked with a fiscal policy agency as the consultant, also with a National Development Planning Agency, or we can call it Bappenas in Indonesia here as the consultant as well. And I can see that so many experience actually that has already reached by Dr. Tony Irawan. And the most recent experience is as the researcher in international trade analysis policy studies from 2015 until present, and also the focal point of UNCTAD ArtNet from 2018 until present. Now I would like to welcome Dr. Tony Irawan.
Hello, Mbak Muti. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you well,
Okay,
Dr.
great.
Tony Irawan. Thank you very much. Now, I would like also to kindly hand over the session to you, Dr. Tony Irawan. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Muti. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Many thanks to all the participants, and also welcome to our three distinguished speakers for today. Today we will have three important persons that will give us a clear overview about the condition and also the experience of Malaysia, of Vietnam, and also Indonesia in terms of international trade. But before we start our discussion, please give me an opportunity to read the background of each presenter. Our first presenter is Dr. Fitra Faisal Hastiadi. He was born in July 26, 1982. So we are in the same age now, actually, Mas Fitra. And he is now currently in South Korea, if I'm not mistaken, Mas Fitra, yeah, in Seoul. Mas Fitra, yes, can you hear me?
Forthcoming comprehensive economic agreement with South Korea.
Okay, great. Okay, Bapak Fitra or Dr. Fitra Faisal Hastiadi is graduated from University of Indonesia, Faculty of Economics, and then he he took his Master of Science Economics in University of Indonesia, and then he graduated from Keio University, Japan. Yeah, and he took a PhD program there. And his area of interest is monetary economics, international trade, development economics, political economy, and disruptive innovation. And he has a lot of experience. Currently, he is the executive director of Next Policy, and then he is also a lecturer in the Department of Economics, University of Indonesia. And then he is currently also as a senior advisor to the Ministry of Trade. And he is currently, if I'm not mistaken, still on duty, Mas Fitra, yeah, with the Minister of Trade of Indonesia. And then he is a head of Center for Iluni, is like an alumni for University of Indonesia. And then he has published several books, and one of the recent books is Globalization, Productivity, and Production Network in ASEAN. And he has a lot of research activities, and the most current study is study on the impact of e-commerce to the Indonesian economy. And without further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Fitra Faisal to give his presentation. Please, the time is yours, Mas Fitra.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Dr. Tony Rawan. So it is quite an honor for me to be here in this very interesting platform, yeah, of collaboration, yeah, among scholars in Southeast Asia. So yeah, you have my slide there. Okay, just follow my speech, and then yeah, we can go on in a more dynamic fashion. Okay, so my title here is actually inspired, and you can have also the reference from my book, The Globalization, Productivity, and Production Network in ASEAN. I already give that to Miss Amaria, and then you can circulate the book among the participants. Okay, so my title here is The Global Production Network, Detail of ASEAN and Indonesia. So speaking of ASEAN, so the one that is very close in mind is actually when we talk about the ASEAN way. The ASEAN way, how to define ASEAN way? ASEAN is inclusive, is quite open. Yeah, it's not like European Union, which is very exclusive. So when I try to define European Union and how to differentiate with ASEAN, usually I tell my students that within European Union, you have a Catholic marriage. Yeah, it's very exclusive. So you cannot have an open relationship, yeah, within that kind of marriage. And it's actually very difficult to have a divorce, because as what we have seen with Brexit, it's actually quite troublesome when you want to exit from that kind of institutionalized regionalization. But ASEAN is actually quite different. We are very open, and we are categorized as an open regionalism, yeah, and to a more casual definition. So we have the ASEAN way. ASEAN way, inclusive, and yeah, what and RCEP, just what we have what I say, been facing just for this several months with the RCEP signing. RCEP is actually one of the output or the consequence of the open and inclusive regionalism within ASEAN. So ASEAN is just like a hub. But alone, ASEAN is going nowhere. Yeah, I remember one time when I had a conference in Chiang Mai, so a colleague from Thailand, he actually he argued that ASEAN alone is going nowhere. So I'm quite agree with that argument, because if you see it from the inter-regional trade share, we only have what, 25% of the inter-regional trade share in ASEAN. And well, in 2011, when I remember one time in 2011 when I was in Tokyo in the World Bank office, and we had a teleconference with the late General Secretary of ASEAN, Surin Pitsuwan, and he said that with ASEAN Economic Community, we'll be having more or less 30% of the inter-regional trade share. But that kind of modest target is not reachable. Yeah, we're still stuck in 25% of inter-regional trade share. So I quote from my colleague, ASEAN alone is going nowhere. We need push factor along with the pull factor. So with ASEAN Plus scheme, we'll create the plus factor, yeah, that will actually enhance trade and investment within ASEAN. Say, as I argue in my book, Globalization, Productivity, and Production Network in ASEAN. So the basis of trade and economic cooperation is actually very both hypothetical and empirical. If we see it from the hypothetical manner, we can refer from the famous gravity equation. Yeah, we have two common variables, size and also distance. Okay, size is undisputed. So we have market, we have GDP, population, and so on and so forth. So it's actually undisputed. But when it comes to distance, yeah, sometimes it is actually safe to say that non-geographical distance, non-physical distance play a more dominant role than a physical distance. So we can say that, okay, so we have this border, we have this geographic distance, but it's no longer relevant, yeah, under this current situation and the advancing technology and especially post-pandemic structure of the economy. Physical distance is no longer an issue. But we have an issue in this non-physical distance. Yeah, we have culture, we have political gap. Yeah, we have the also development proximity. Yeah, development proximity. We have also language proximity and so on and so forth. So with that in mind, we have this shared identity within ASEAN. Yeah, and this is actually play a dominant role in defining ASEAN as we speak today. ASEAN will go beyond ASEAN with this kind of basis, shared identity. Then we move on to ASEAN Plus. We have RCEP. Yeah, we have ASEAN plus China, Japan, South Korea, and also New Zealand and Australia within a shared identity basis. So we have that kind of basis, yeah, the lowest common denominator. What about the development capacity, which is actually, if we, among ASEAN member countries, maybe we are not that different. Yeah, although we have Singapore that is quite advanced in some sense, but more or less in ASEAN, we're not that different. But what about if we want to become a hub? Yeah, that differences may exist, and the differences will be wider and wider. Shall we add more countries into the variables? So, but I remember one theoretical basis of the extra-all-in model. Yeah, within this development gap capacity, within these differences, we can still have integration within the extra-all-in theoretical basis, and then moving to the Ricardian extra-all-in model, Ricardo Krugman model, and so on and so forth. These differences is actually creating a bond between the said countries. So because we have differences, both vertical and horizontal, we can have this global production network. We can have this global value chain. Yeah, we can fill in the blanks, yeah, to each other. Yeah, so that what defines ASEAN Plus. Okay, so moving along, to fill that blanks, we need several factors to be addressed. Especially, this is not only happening in Indonesia. This is not unilateral variables that apply only unique to Indonesia, but it is also applicable to other ASEAN countries. In order to utilize globalization, in order to utilize regionalization, we need to address these important factors. First is labor productivity. Yeah. Of course, we have the variation among countries in terms of productivity, in terms of labor productivity. But the factor price equalization theorem suggests that if we have a greater bond, a greater relationship, a higher economies of scale within this regional integration scheme, we can have a convergence in productivity. That is why we need ASEAN Plus as a platform of production, of collaboration. It's not only competition, but it is a collaboration. Just like Singaporean scholar Dr. Chia suggests that ASEAN and especially ASEAN, China, and also and several countries surround ASEAN. In terms of competition, we are more or less collaborative. It's not only competition, but we are moving toward collaborations. If we see it from the trade complementary index figure, we can say that ASEAN and the plus country relationship is now more and more complementary. So in that sense, we can fill the blanks, and with that variation of the labor productivity, we can actually catch up. So factor price equalization versus labor. The second is infrastructure. Of course, we have the so-called ASEAN Infrastructure Fund, but it is actually quite stagnant. That is why we need also the pool of fund, not only in ASEAN, but also the plus countries. So trade and investment is a nexus. When you have trade, you can have investment. What kind of investment? The first, and that creates the common ground within the ASEAN and plus countries, we need more investment in infrastructures in order to level the same of the level of playing field, to level the playing field, among ASEAN member countries. Of course, the variation and the differences, as I told you earlier, has become an engine of collaboration. But in the future, we need also to expand the development capacity toward each member countries. So we need to invest more on infrastructures that connect us more and more. When it comes to infrastructure, of course, it's not just physical infrastructure. We have now IT infrastructure as the basis of the collaboration, the basis of connectivity. We can have also the educational infrastructure. We can invest more in education among ASEAN member countries in order to understand more, in order to have political and cultural ties, even more. So that actually create the bond. And then, of course, we need to have a more open relation, in terms of investment. We need to invest more on technology and so on and so forth, so that we can have not only leapfrogging, but we can have a quantum leap. As some scholars suggest that this time, this century is the Asian century. It is no longer the Western dominance. We have now the Eastern part is on marching, especially post-pandemic. We can have this bond greater and greater in the future, and we can push it into not only leapfrogging but a quantum leap. So post-pandemic structure of relationship will be somewhat tricky. It can be better or worse. Just like Stiglitz said that we may face a deglobalization. We may face heavy dominance of the government towards the economy. So that's for sure, for the post-pandemic structure. But we need to be careful, so that the government dominance or the fact of deglobalization is not spreading towards our ASEAN unity and ASEAN plus unity. Because, as I said before, this is the Asian century. So we need to utilize this more yeah, in order to develop together. So to wrap up, yeah, maybe we can have a further discussion. To wrap up, this Southeast Asia uh, groupings of scholars, yeah, is actually very timely because we need to have a clear roadmap in the future. How to define ASEAN post-pandemic? What is actually the scenario planning? This pandemic is actually beyond the scenario. We don't have enough scenario beforehand. So I remember in 2010, I worked in ADB Institute in Tokyo. So we were working at that time on ASEAN 2030 study. At that time, no one believes that we will have this kind of catastrophe in this 2020. So in order to have a proper forecasting, quote unquote, it's not only forecast, but we need to have a scenario planning. What will we become in the future, in 2030, in 2050, and so on and so forth? Okay. Okay, ASEAN is already having a quite remarkable achievement since 1967, but in terms of the economic cooperation, is still lagging behind. So we need much work to do. Yeah, we need to do the leap, not only the leapfrogging, but also the quantum leap to have these ASEAN member countries as a hub. Yeah, that will actually become the solution for the future. Because as I said before, this is the Asian century. What defines us today defines us in the future. Thank you, and may we have a good discussion.
Okay, Mr. Fitra, thank you very much for your insightful presentation. So, ladies and gentlemen, because Mr. Fitra has another agenda after this, so I would like to invite participants to give a question to Mr. Fitra. You can turn on your video, or also you can also unmute your speakers, and then you can ask it directly. Let me check if there is any question in the chat box. Okay. So do we have any question, ladies and gentlemen? If not, I just have one quick question to Mr. Fitra. You have mentioned that ASEAN is diverse, yeah, and then there is an unanticipated condition, which is pandemic, that is not in our previous scenario. And of course, if we create such a hub in ASEAN, there will be a diverse benefit for all ASEAN members. So how do we do you have any strategy in which we can have an equal benefit for all ASEAN members in terms of making this kind of trade hub in ASEAN? So that's my simple question for you, Mr. Fitra.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Dr. Tony. So it depends how you can define equality. So if equality means that you have the same payment of your work, so it's actually quite difficult. Because in order to reach and utilize this relation even more, we need actually a higher productivity. Okay, so it depends on you. How can you create and you push your competitiveness level? So if we can be competitive, so we can reap more, of course. But to be sure, if we create the ASEAN Hub and ASEAN Plus scheme, to be sure that we have the so-called trade diversion and investment diversion effect if we are not joining these elite groups. Yeah, for example, in RCEP, yeah, we have the cost of joining and the cost of not joining, and the cost of not joining exceeds the cost of joining. So if you don't have this kind of arrangement, you will be having this trade diversion and investment diversion, just like Urata and Okabe argue. Yeah. In the future, yeah, if you're being outcasted from this kind of membership. So you will be stagnant in growth. For Indonesia, for the perspective of Indonesia, we need to achieve higher growth in 2030. Why in 2030? As I argue in my book, Chapter 3 in Globalization, Productivity, and Production Network in ASEAN, in order to escape from middle income trap, we need at least 6 to 6.5% of yearly growth, average growth, until 2030. How to achieve that? So according to our calculation, it needs at least 8 to 9%, ideally 9% of export growth, year on year. How to achieve 8 to 9% of export growth? Of course, we have the push factor, domestic policy. So what determine the variation among countries is domestic policy. The first is domestic policy. So if you have a good domestic policy, you can push forwards the competitiveness level. So fortunately for us, Indonesia, we invest in infrastructure, we invest in the investment ecosystem nowadays with the omnibus law, and so on and so forth. So we are going on the right track. But this is not enough. This is necessary, but not sufficient. We need also the pull factor. Okay, the pull factor. We need to push the export even more. With this geographical surroundings, with this geographical cooperation scheme. With doing so, according to several simulations, just maybe we can achieve that 9% of export. Of course, when we discuss about trade is always synonymously related with investment. So trade investment is nexus. We have trade, we have investment. So we can achieve that through cooperation and collaboration. So that is for that is my take. But of course, we need to push forward. This depends on us. What determine the variation among countries is the domestic policy. We have, of course, the quite homogeneous environment in terms of shocks. In terms of shock. For example, this pandemic is homogeneous shocks. But what determine the heterogeneous variation is domestic policy. So it depends on your domestic policy, of course.
Okay, many thanks, Dr. Fitra,
Assalamualaikum,
for your
Dr.
comments.
Tony.
Okay.
How are you? Long time no see.
Good. Yeah. Okay, do you have any questions, sir?
Yeah, I'm Dr. Zul from National Institute of Malaysia.
Okay.
Thank you for Dr. Fitra. Very interesting discussion. Okay, I have several questions to you.
Yes.
We know that
please.
in ASEAN region, in terms of tariff barriers, I think no problem. We have no problem. But now the main problem is the existence of non-tariff barriers and non-tariff measures. We know that each country is trying to protect their strategic industry. Somehow, for example, Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, we have more than 1,000 in terms of non-tariff barriers or non-tariff measures. So how we as an ASEAN region should take this problem seriously in order to speed up the export acceleration, because if this what I call this NTB and NTM still not solve this issue in future, so maybe we not optimize the export in intra-ASEAN. Right. So how we should handle this issue? This is my first question. Okay. My second question is, according to some study, I think economists from Japan, Korea, they use various models try to analyze the impact of any free trade areas like ASEAN, AFTA, something like that, and they found that the impact to some economy is different. Some country they better off, so they can get more trade creation, for example, right? But some countries they become worse off. All right. So as a we call integration in among ASEAN plus ASEAN, whatever. So how we as a policymakers or academician to handle this issue? Because I think the discussion try to debate the positive, I mean the impact for any trade arrangement already done with some researchers, of course pro, some researchers against to the any trade arrangement. All right. So how we handle this issue? Because we for sure in Asian region we are moving forward. By 2030, we're going to establish Asian Economic Community, right? So some Asian countries, in particular, left developed Asian. All right. Of course, in Asian region we have two parts of Asian, right? Asian 5, so consider very developed Asian, and the part of Asian is less developed Asian. So how we want to make sure that the impact of any trade agreement should be mutually beneficial across across countries. That's
Okay.
my
Yeah.
question to you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Pak Zul, for your question. Please, Dr. Fitra, your comments.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Zul. That is very touche. So it's very sharp, and it always becomes the economist consideration of having a regional integration. Of course, we call it that the creeping protectionism. Yeah, the anti-AMS and NTB. Yeah, we have, although we have the zero bound tariff. Yeah, with several agreements, but somewhat we have also positive correlation with higher anti-AMS and NTB. So with zero bound tariff, we have a higher anti-AMS. Several approach, one of which is actually, we can negotiate that kind of NTMs and NTBs, because it should be negotiable, because it's quite abstract. When it comes to NTB and NTMs, it is very unilateral, and when it is unilateral, so you need to negotiate. So in some cases, we apply that kind of negotiation. So we also include the anti-Ms and anti-Bs into the negotiation table. And for the next issue, of course, we have the variations. We have the winners as well as the losers. Yeah, how to utilize regionalism, and also globalization. Yeah. As I suggest in two of my books, Trade Strategy in East Asia, From Regionalization to Regionalism, and followed with my second book, Globalization, Productivity and Production Network in ASEAN. There are one, that connects the dot. Yeah, you need to utilize your labor productivity. You need to invest more on infrastructure, and you need to invest more on your institutional capacity. Without doing so, you cannot reach and you cannot reap the globalization and regionalization. Of course, we have also the variation, as you rightly suggest, about the development capacity gap. We have the big countries, we have the emerging countries, and we have the least developed countries. At the very first stage, we can have this factor price equalization. Some of my empirical models suggest that we can have this factor price equalization. In that case, these differences can create convergence in the future. But again, in order to do so, you need to invest more on that three factors: labor, infrastructure, and institution. Without that, we can be always a loser, and we cannot win the game. That's my take, Dr. Zul.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Fitra, for your answer. But Dr. Fitra, if I'm mistaken, you still have another agenda after this, Dr. Fitra, yeah?
Then I have one question, please.
Very sorry. Yes, please.
Do you still have time, Dr. Fitra?
One question, please.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Please, Pak Zulkifli, your time.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm Zulkifli Razak from University of Bosowa, South Sulawesi. It is very interesting for your information. It seems like we are really in the central of the world on the Asia. My simple question, and maybe for your opinion, how do you get your network with smooth as we can do? Because as far as I know, I'm not really dealing with the international business, but I have done it before. We have very small technical things that we cannot overcome. For example, the sanitary, international sanitary certificate. So when you have deal with the nation, country, in these cases, we had last time joined with the Australian collaboration with the Australia. You know, we have a trouble on phytosanitary. Yeah. Now, have you have any concept to get through on phytosanitary? Because most of the collaboration really main on permit. You know, even you have a very good assignment, you have a good letter of collaboration, but if you don't follow the rules of the country that we are facing to, you also fails to do the business, you see. For example, for the real things, yeah, if we want to export it, our agriculture fruits, for example, to Australia, they are very, very strict on phytosanitary. This Indonesian businessman never can get through on that phytosanitary. I don't understand why. So maybe you have some suggestion or you have concept how to get through with this international phytosanitary. This is very technical. Yeah, the ones you're talking maybe as global idea. That's all right. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Zulkifli. Dr.
Okay.
Fitra, please.
Yeah. So thank you, Dr. Zul. So I remember one certain figure, yeah, coming from the Fiscal Policy Office, which is the FTA utilization rate. So our existing FTAs in Indonesia, so we have several FTAs and also partnership, yeah, with several countries and several regions, but the utilization rate is still very marginal. Yeah, it's about 30%. So why is that? Yeah, one of the problem is we don't have enough dissemination, yeah, with this business environment, business structures, and we don't include technicalities. We don't have any technical, what I say, capacity to comply with the rules. So that is why we need also the government, the business person to collaborate, yeah, to consolidate even more. Take for example RCEP, yeah. This is actually the consolidation of regulations. So what you mentioned earlier is the standard. Yeah, the standards serve as the basis of the movement of natural persons. Yeah, when it comes to the common market, we have the free flow of goods and services, but of course, into a certain standards. We need the standard compliance. So, but unfortunately, in terms of compliance, as you suggest before, it's very minimal. Yeah. So my idea is, yeah, um, of, to have that kind of technicalities into matter, we need to disseminate the information, of course, and then we need to put that kind of technicalities in a very earlier stage to consolidate the regulation so it becomes the standard for all member countries. So that is actually my take. Yeah, it's not too detailed, but maybe we can discuss it further. Yeah, even more. You can have my number, then we can talk and discuss. Yeah, because this we need to go into the details, and I believe we don't have time here. But of course, you can also you can always have my number and my contact. Then we can discuss more after the meeting.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Fitra, for your response. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that you still have a lot of questions, but because we still have another two distinguished speakers, so I would like to express my sincere gratitude and big thanks to Dr. Fitra. Many thanks, Dr. Fitra, for your time. You still join this seminar, even though I know that you have a very tight schedule there. And good luck for your job there.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think we can move on to the next speaker. Mbak Muti, could you please share? Okay, our second speaker Our second speaker is Associate Professor Dr. Norma Swana Ismail. She is from School of Business and Economics, University of Southampton. School of Malaysia, in University of Putra, Malaysia. And she is now the Deputy Dean of Research and Industry and Community Linkages, School of Business and Economics, UPM. And she was the Deputy Director of the Institute of Agricultural and Food Policy Studies, University Putra, Malaysia. And her education was in economics, and PhD in economics from University of Southampton, United Kingdom. And she has a lot of experiences. Her research interests include ASEAN studies, particularly issues related to intra-regional trade, foreign direct investment, convergence, and economic growth. And she has published a lot of papers, both in national and international journals, and she also wrote books and chapter in books, and she also served as a consultant to government agencies such as Ministry of Domestic Trade, Cooperative and Consumerism, and Economic Planning Unit. At international level, she is also involved consultation work with ASEAN Development Bank Institute, or ADBI, and Economic Research Institute for ASEAN East Asia, or area. So, Professor Norma Swana Ismail, are you already online here now? Can you hear me?
On my speakers. Okay.
Okay, great. Okay, so without further ado, I would like to invite Professor Norma Ismail to give her presentation. Please, the time is yours.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Tony, for the introduction. The time given to me is about 30 minutes, so I prepare my slides, it's about the time, right? So because we have another distinguished speakers, Dr. Khan. So I actually really honored to be invited at this international webinar. This is actually another mark, the day that we actually finally launched the association, Southeast Asian International Trade and Finance Association. Congratulations. And thank you also to the organizer, especially the Faculty of Economics and Management, APB, Indonesia. So today I would like actually to share the export acceleration in Malaysian experience in the case of Malaysia. But before I proceed, I actually wanted to say that, because Dr. Fitra is already left, but actually I agree with many points that actually brought by Dr. Fitra, because my research and, my research area also related with the regional economic integration, And I just want to add some the recent paper that I published. So it's related with the digital trade facilitation. I agree that with when Dr. Fitra mentioned about that, now it's not only the physical distance that is a matter. Now actually it's more. We are moving, especially after COVID, we are moving towards the e-commerce, and then all the trade facilitation should actually enhance via the ICT and also the AI. So therefore, I actually published one paper that related the digital trade facilitation in Asian countries. And maybe later I will share the paper. Let me share the slide that I already prepared. Hope that you can see. You can see that. So this is actually when I've been given the topics to explore the export acceleration in the Malaysian case. I would like also to share some actually experience how actually Malaysia, which earlier stage we are focusing in the agricultural sector, but now we are moving towards the manufacturing sector. Before I proceed, maybe I can actually share with you some facts of Malaysia. Malaysia actually is a small and open economy. We only have 32.6 million population. And our real GDP growth is about 4.3% in 2019. And real GDP is about 364 billion. And we are actually aim to become high income economies. And our GDP per capita is already touched 11,000 US dollar. And of course, the investment actually is very important. We receive lots of investment, for especially foreign direct investment. In 2019, it's reached 7.6 billion USD. And in terms of the trade openness, okay, when we calculated based on percentage to GDP, okay, we are the trade in 2019 is 123%. So in terms of merchandise import and export also, we actually recorded okay more than 200 billions. Okay, and we also actually now moving towards the high technology. According to WDI records, okay, in 2018, okay, our high tech exports reached 52% out of total manufacturing export. Okay, this is my presentation today, which I would like to share some of the industrial policy, implemented in Malaysia, and sharing some export data and how actually we proceed for the export acceleration. Okay, so this is actually economic structure in Malaysia. If you look at the left side of the graph, in 1990, our focus is more on the agriculture, which is 20% the contribution to our GDP. Meanwhile, manufacturing is about 19% and services about 39%. But after many decades, okay, 2019, our agriculture contribution in agriculture is a little bit is shrinking a lot. Okay, is only contribute 7% of our GDP, but we are more focusing on the services sector. And of course, the increasing in terms of the manufacturing sector in 2019. So this is actually is a backbone in our manufacturing sector, where our government actually see the importance of manufacturing. So that is why many actually the blueprint and master plan have been created, a series of master plan being created just to focus in the industrial transformation. And for example, that we have industrial master plan, which actually the period is 2006 to 2020, which actually try to achieve the long-term global competitiveness. So focusing in the more on the competitiveness. And we are going to launch the fourth industrial master plan soon for another 5 years periods. Along the line, okay, so because of the industrial revolution and also transformation, okay, Malaysia actually see that the potential to have the automotive industry. So therefore we have the NAP, National Automotive Policy, okay, which already introduced in 2006, where during the third industrial master plan. So this actually aim to ensure that the sustainable development of our automotive industry. Recently, okay, they have a national automotive policy in 2020 was released. Along the industrial revolution 4.0, okay, the government also realized that it's very important that our industry also in line with the IR 4.0. Therefore, the industry forwards, okay, is already launched in 2018. Okay, this is actually to derive the digital transformation of the manufacturing and related services sector in Malaysia. And so this is actually very important policy towards how actually we channel our manufacturing sector. Okay, this is actually to show you how diverse our export. Okay, of course we are actually focusing in the manufacturing sector, but to be the to produce the product, we also export the manufacturing goods. But if you look at that here, the product actually being produced is not specific into one or two product, but we actually produce diverse in terms of the diversity of the production, and therefore we also export diversity of the products. So if you look at that from the the slide here, we have machinery and equipment actually is the key product or sectors actually developed in our industry. We also have the iron and steel, automotive, textile, apparel and footwear, chemicals and petrochemicals, and the very important electrical and also electronics. Okay, so food processing, the new things that actually we are focusing is more on the high technology products. For example, aerospace. In 2018, Malaysian aerospace industry recorded total revenues about 14.4 billion ringgit Malaysia. Okay, and the aerospace manufacturing sector contribute 48% to the industry revenue and recorded the highest value in 2018. Okay, so other than aerospace, okay, Malaysia also started to export medical devices. In 2018, export in medical devices increased by 16.1%. So other than that, pharmaceutical also categorized as a high tech. Is the total trade in 2018 was valued about 8.6 billion. Okay, other than that, you can see also the new industry like shipbuilding and ship repair have been actually identified as a one of the strategic industry to generate in terms of the employment and other industry capacity and technology capability. Okay, this is actually very important because without the investment is actually because investment and also export actually is a positive relationship. So basically the FDI is actually dominant in terms of investing in the manufacturing projects in Malaysia. This is the data up to 2019 that recorded quite high in terms of FDI in Malaysia in manufacturing projects. So this is our trade openness, trade to GDP in terms of percentage to GDP. Okay, the total trade percentage to GDP. If you look at that in terms of trade openness, we are actually very high compared to other countries because the way that the data is calculated is a export plus the import divided with the GDP. So that's why you can see China actually is a bit low here because the GDP is very high. So that's the measurement actually is calculated by World Bank. All right, so this actually is also very interesting to share in 2019, all right, so and 2018 data. In terms of trade in good, so this is actually top 10 you can see top 10 trade in the world, okay, which is led by China. This is for good, total trade in good. But Malaysia actually ranked in number 25th out of many countries. Okay, so even in 2018 also, the rank actually is quite constant and consistent. In terms of the export, if you look at from the export, also we rank number 26 in the world in terms of exporting of the goods. All right. So here actually, when we look at in terms of Malaysian's export based on the component, so you can see the economic structure actually tally with what actually the policy and also the moving on the export acceleration. So if you look at that, the manufacturing still dominant. Okay, even in the contribution to GDP, so our export also contributes more manufactured goods. So it's about 84% in 2019. Even during the COVID pandemic, if you look at the right side of our chart here, is we still actually dominant producing and also export the manufacturing goods, which recorded 26%. Okay, even though our services actually is shrinking in 2020, but okay, the bigger chunk actually is goes to manufacturing sector. If you look at the export diversification, again, in terms of percentage of total export, I try to compare in 1990 and 2019. So you can see that how the red colors is the manufacturing sector, right? So this is actually for the export. So you can see that how actually move from in 1990, the manufacturing export is only 58%. Okay, but in 2019, okay, more than 40%, recorded more than 40% change in 2019, which actually moving forwards, we are actually really focusing in the manufacturing sector in terms of the production and also the exports. In terms of top major export by product, so you can see the diversification of our products. Okay, even in during the COVID, January and October until October 2020, so the similar pattern actually still take place. Okay, so you can see that E&E actually dominant in our exports. Okay, petroleum, chemical, and palm oil base also. Yeah. All right, so what actually the major export? So this is actually the key and backbone our manufacturing goods for the export, okay, which actually recorded about 84%, right? So electrical, E&E products, petroleum, chemical and chemical products, machineries, and also optical scientific, which is this high tech. Right. So other than that, we also still export, focus in the primary base product of industries, especially the palm oil based products. In terms of the destination of export, Singapore, China and the US actually ranking the top 3 in terms of destination in 2019. Even during the COVID also, we can see these 3 countries actually still, continue our destination of exports. Okay, let's move on to looking at the export acceleration in Malaysia. So here, what actually I would like to share with you some of the analysis that I've conducted to see how far that actually Malaysia ready and put into place, because we have the many actually the planning and the master plan and so on, how we actually move towards the export acceleration in Malaysia. Okay, this is the analysis that actually I gathered from WITS, World Bank, okay, WITS. I try to analyze trade product analysis in the case of Malaysia. So this is data in 2018. Okay, so this is for the imports and this is for Malaysia export. If you look at that, in terms of the import and also export, is a quite similar pattern in terms of what actually the product or the sector that we are focusing for the import and also export. The one that actually dominant here is more on the M&E, machineries and electrical and electronics. Okay, so it's about the export is about 43% and the import is 38% of the import and 43% of the exports. So other than that, we also have fuels here and others, chemical and so on. All right. From that manufacturing, so because I would like also to see the destination, which actually countries that actually import from us, especially the machineries and electrical and electronics. Okay, actually 60%, 16.9% actually is import by Singapore. Okay, it's the highest we export to Singapore, and followed by China, US, and Hong Kong. So the 4 countries here actually is quite dominant in terms of our trade partners. So this data actually collected in 2018. The only that, this is actually the latest data available in WITS. So this is import. So you can see that the pattern of trade, intra-industry trade happen. We are actually import and also export quite similar products, especially M&E. And the M&E, the machineries and also electrical and electronic, okay, mostly we import from China, is about 25%. Okay, so I try to compare it in the world. When we talk about the M&E, actually is the key backbone for our industry. So if we put the pictures here to compare it with all countries in the world that also export similar goods, machine and electrical equipment, so we can see China, of course, is a dominant in terms of contribution to M&E exports in the world, all right, which they mostly export to US, and Malaysia actually is contribute only about 2.23%. Okay, so when we look at that, actually we are actually is a very big in terms of the domestic producing and also export, looking from the domestic data, but we compare it in the world, so the contribution is still very small, right? So means that that's why we said that we are actually small and open economy, but we actually engaging and moving, more, not only looking at the volume and also the value of the product, but we are moving towards more complexity and also the high technology products. All right, so this is from the importing. Okay, so you can see from the import, Malaysia is about 1.68% in the world, in terms of the share of the world. Again, you can see that US actually import highest mostly from China. Okay, let's look at this slide, that because I think the slide actually is very interesting to share with you, because here I try to look at, when we talk about the export diversification, we need to also ensure that how many products that are being exported and how many trade partners that we are engaging, right? So if you look at that, the left side here, this is actually the numbers of products exported and also the numbers of product imported. For your reference, okay, there's in the SITC line, okay, there's a product line. You can get it from Comtrade data, United Nations. In the total of the products, there's a 5,300 total of the product line available in recent version of SITC. So in looking at the numbers of product that Malaysia actually been exported, so it's about 4,000. In 2016, it's about 4,000 product have been exported. So this is actually telling us that we are actually involved in the numbers of product being exported worldwide. This is also the import. That means that we are engaging not only the export, okay, the numbers of product of the imported also is very high, okay, even though showing the downward trend here, but compared with the 5,300, okay, the numbers of products still very high, reach to 4,000 product line. And this is actually very interesting, okay, because from my study, okay, when I study about the international trade data, okay, other than looking at the volume and also the value, we need to look at as in more on the extensive margin. The extensive margin means that we need to look at not only the value and volume, but whether our market actually expand or not, our product exported actually expanded or not. Okay, so this is actually where I try to bring the participants to look at this kind of graph. Yeah, so our partners actually is showing the partners of our export and also import actually is increasing from year to year. So that actually is showing the market expansion from our trade perspective. Okay, so I try to compare with China, whether we are actually in line with the giant economy. So it seems that the numbers of product exported and imported by China is also quite similar. It's about 4,400 levels compared to total 5,300. So the trade partners also is increasing. All right, so close more than 200 trade partners for the importers and also the exporters. Okay, so another graph here actually telling us about the whether our market is diverse or more on concentrate. Okay, I try to make a comparison between Malaysia, Singapore, and China. Okay, by using the Havendel Hirschman Index. Okay, so that measure the market concentration. If HH higher, close to 1, means that the market is much more concentrated. Okay. However, if you look at the data here, our graph actually is telling us, after we are moving towards decreasing in terms of the HH index. You can see here in 2017-16 here, so the HH index showing below 0.1. So it's close to zero. Okay, so similar pattern actually also in Singapore and China. So means that close to zero, meaning the market, our market actually is diversified. The lower value means the market is a more diversified market. So not concentrate on certain products or markets. All right, so I would like to share with you, this is a very interesting findings, okay, when I try to explore about the economic complexity, because Malaysia actually is moving towards producing complex manufacturing products. All right, so this is actually the index that we can measure how actually we rank ourselves in terms of complexity of the products. So the economic complexity measure the knowledge in the society as expressed in the products. Right. So the economic complexity is based on diversity of the exports and country that produce and their ubiquity and the numbers of countries able to produce them. Okay, in terms of the complexity. So therefore, the countries that able to sustain a diverse range of productivity know-how, including sophisticated, unique know-how, are found to be able to produce wide diversity goods. So this is what I meant, that we need actually to measure this, because as I said that we look at that the pattern of product produced by Malaysia is more diverse, export diversity. Okay, so what if we try to understand from the economic complexity, okay, whether they are actually in line what we're actually producing. You can also try in your countries, okay, so you can actually just get from the link here, right? Okay, so this is actually data that I can share with you, that Japan actually been number one of the data actually from 2000 until 2018 has been number one in terms of producing complexity of the products. Okay, so they call it economic complexity index by the country here. So Japan number one, okay, US actually number 11. This is record in 2018, and China number 18. Okay, Indonesia number 61. Okay, where's Malaysia? Right, so let me see. Oh, this is the Malaysia. Malaysia actually ranked number 26. If you look at that, quite fluctuate a little bit, okay, but it's still actually in the light blue colors here, okay, between 26, okay, the lowest is 34, so it's about 26 to 34 in terms of the range, okay, but 2018 will come back at the 26 in the rank in producing of the complexity products. Okay, let's go deeper. What actually did Malaysia export in terms of the economic complexity? Basically, it's a manufacturing sector. What did actually in terms of the product line here? Okay, the focus actually is basically is a E&E. Yeah, you can see that E&E actually taking a very high in terms of the exports. Okay, just make a comparison. This is actually the data when the ECI classified under ECI, which is the product actually is they claim as a complex. Okay, for example, ICT, electronic integrated circuits, computers, and others. Okay, so this is actually, you can see that the big chunk actually in 1996 is more on the electronic integrated circuits, ICT, and also computers. What about 2006, after decades? So you can see it's still actually dominant in terms of the electronic integrated circuits and also the computers. All right, in 2012, all right, so we have the petroleum here, okay, petroleum gases, and still dominant in terms of the electronic integrated circuits. And the latest one is at 2018, okay, so it's about 24.4%, okay, it's actually is export by Malaysia that recorded in the ECI, so which is actually it's a very big percentage that we are focusing in the electronic integrated circuits. So moving forwards, okay, so I try to look at more because the high tech, this is actually the recent research that have been conducted with my students to look at the high technology exports and products. So you can see that this is percentage of export manufacturing. So we can see that it's very high, quite high in the case of Malaysia actually contribute to the high tech exports. Okay, in line with Singapore. This is the red colors is Singapore, and Malaysia actually the green colors here. And this is a percentage that we calculated the high tech export percentage the export manufacturing. The data actually gathered by from World Bank, World Development Indicators. Okay, what actually components? Okay, we try to look at deeper. Okay, for your information. Okay, because of this is my recent study. So all actually the component that we gathered actually is the definition of the high tech. We get it from OECD. Okay, which they define that the high technology is the product that embedded with the research and development. So this is what they call it the high technology. So all actually the detail of the data here actually is based on the coding, the SITC code. So it seems that in 2009, our focus actually is more the electronics and telecommunication products, which actually claim as the high tech. Okay, so until today, the recent data also telling us that we are still focusing in the similar goods, similar sector, electronic and telecommunication, which actually claim as the high tech. I think this is actually the big actually contributes in our high tech exports. So I come to the conclusion here, and maybe this is actually takeaway notes that Malaysian economic structure definitely we move from agriculture and we are focusing in manufacturing and services sector. So because of that, okay, our policy should be also in line to develop the industry transformation, and because this is very important, because once we actually switch to the manufacturing and services sector, so the policy actually should be take place and to strengthen the way forward our industry and our exports. So of course, from the slide that I already shared with you, that it seems that Malaysia really focus in terms of the producing and also export diversification of the goods. Okay, from electrical and electronic to palm oil based product. Okay, so means that is not only from the manufacturing, we also focus also the primary product, but it's still in at the processing and manufacturing palm oil based product. Of course, producing complexity product actually is the key strategies that we are moving forward. Not only the producing the manufacturing sector as assembly type, we are moving towards the producing complex manufacturing goods. Of course, the key actually element that should move forward for our export, focusing the high technology export, such as aerospace, medical devices, and pharmaceuticals. And COVID-19 pandemic should not be hindrance to our export acceleration. Okay, so you can see that, for example, during the COVID, okay, so we actually because I did some study looking at the comparative advantage to look at whether we have the comparative advantage to produce the medical trade, the medical goods that used during the COVID. Okay, so we can see that Malaysia actually have capability in producing PPE, PPP, personal protective products, including the face mask. The glove actually is in the medical instruments. So we have actually several categories. The data actually gathered by from WTO, and the list also getting from WTO. But unfortunately, I did not share it here. But this is actually very important that to show that we have actually have comparative advantage to produce the some actually the product they've been used during the COVID, especially for the medical products. So I think that's all, Dr. Tony. All right. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
So pass it back to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Norma Wana Ismail. I see that several participants has raised hand and some other type of question in the chat box, but please be patient because we still have another distinguished speakers before we start our discussion. So let's move on to the next presenters. We have our third distinguished speakers. Mbak Muti, could you please share a screen? Okay. Mbak Muti, could you please show the curriculum vitae? Yeah, we have it here now. Okay, so our third speaker is Dr. Kan Puk Nguyen, and he is a senior lecturer at School of Banking, University of Economics, Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. And he took his PhD program in economics, University of Economics, Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. And he has a lot of experiences. He is also a research fellow at Leicester Institute of Advanced Studies, University of Leicester. And he has worked at postdoctoral research at MIT University in 2019. And he has a lot of research focus, particularly on macroeconomic policies, monetary policy, and fiscal policy. And his PhD thesis is monetary policy transmission and bank lending channel in Vietnam. And he has now over 70 public publications in prestigious journals, and he is serving as reviewers for several journals such as Journal of Institutional Economics, Resources Policy, Journal of Intermediate Economics, and so on. And he is part of several research projects such as research consortium between MIT, UEH, and University of Leicester, FIRI, and FICAS. I think we could move on to Mr. Khan. Mr. Khan, have you joined us?
Yeah, thank you, Dr.
Yeah, okay. Okay, without further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Khan to give his presentation. Please, the time is yours.
Online invitation and introduction. I am very honored to be here today. First of all, I want to thank to Amalias for who have been taking care of the organization and the others activity for me to be here today. Hi, Norma and everyone. I am very impressive by first to speak. I want to say that they have the first speech they have been summarized for the global strategy for Asia country. The second is Malaysia experience. Now I want to introduce you to the Vietnam experience from my observation. My presentation will be in likely 20 minutes. On the first, I summarize Vietnam context in economics and export. Secondly, about Vietnam and COVID-19. The third one, I will focus on my observation on export acceleration strategy from Vietnamese government. And at last, I give some takeaway challenge for Vietnam in the future. So Vietnam is currently a lower middle income economy. We have population over 95 million. It means that we have a huge domestic market. And the GDP in 1920 over 260 billion with the GDP per capita at around 2007 USD dollar. We have a very high growth rate in last year at around 7%. This is one of the highest growth rate in Asia area. And it's important to note that after we have opened our economy from 1986, our economy have been growing fast for over 30 years. The income level have increased much, while the economic growth have been stable at around from 5% to 7%. And another interesting is that Vietnam has been forecast to be post highest GDP growth in 2021 in Asia and somehow in the world. I mean that in the current pandemic, Vietnamese government have been doing very good job in containing virus and the pandemic. By the way, on another hand, we have been focused on economic recovery and sustained economic growth. With the trade activity, we have been developed much in past 30 years, and the interesting point is that we come from the trade deficit to trade surplus in recent years after global financial crisis. You can see on the figure in from 2012, our trade balance had been gained much from negative to positive one, and the record of trade surplus is being witnessed in 2019, just last year. I mean that Vietnamese economy and trade activity is on the way of development very good until 2020 for the pandemic. Everything had changed. And summarize on trading activity in 2019, we have the unparalleled contributor in export. We have domestic sector that contribute over around 30% of total export. Meanwhile, foreign sector have been contribute over two of thirds in total export in Vietnam. It means that the merging of export in Vietnam is not come from our internal capability. It likely come from the foreigner investor. This is our problem now. Our main export product is mobile phone and spare part on the top. And you know, Samsung come from South Korea have invest the large inventory in the north of Vietnam, and it accumulated almost the value of export in Vietnam. Computer component, textile and garment, machinery equipment, and footwear, wood and wooden good. Meanwhile, you can heard in some place somewhere that Vietnam economy is very popular with agricultural product like Malaysia in the past. We have a large area of agricultural production in Mekong Delta River and in the north as well. However, this production or agricultural production contribute a little in total export of Vietnam. Meanwhile, we export a lot of electrical mechanical equipment, mechanical plastic, mineral fuel, including oil and iron and steel. So going to our main partner in export, we export mainly to US, China, Japan, Korea, Hong Kong, New Zealand, India, Germany, United Kingdom. And in Asia, only Thailand in our top 10 exporting partner. It means that we have a very large space for improvement the bilateral trade between Vietnam and Asian countries and in river. For the main partner in import, we import mostly from China, Korea, Japan, or other Asia, USA, and we import from Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, India, and Australia. So, in summary, only Thailand and likely Malaysia have last bilateral trade with Vietnam now in Asia. And this is a problem of not only Vietnam, but also for other Asian countries. We have very few or like not expectation for the bilateral trade between and among Asian countries. For the Vietnam and the COVID-19, for the first point, I am very honored to say that Vietnamese government have been doing very good job in containing virus and fighting against the pandemic. In Vietnam, we see the pandemic or the virus like a world. Everyone, not only government, but also the citizen. I can tell you a funny story that in this March, when I returned from UK and I arrived in the international airport, immediately the doctor come and ask me about my health status, how I have been there in UK, and they put me into warranty camp for 14 days. Before they check everything and it's okay, I am negative with the coronavirus, and they give me a certificate before they let me coming home. However, when I just arrived my home in my apartment, 5 minutes later, my neighborhood knocked my door and asked, "Where are you from? Where you come from?" And if you have any contact with the infected person, you are, do you have any likely potential risk of getting infected by coronavirus? I mean that's why in Vietnam we have very few cases day by day. We have just 2 outbreaks in the March and in the August. However, we contain it immediately, and we have just until now we have just one time of lockdown for the whole society, and the economy recovery a little bit good, and every economic activity now is slightly normal in Ho Chi Minh City and in Vietnam now, with the culture that the virus can be come back anytime. But everything is now is likely normal. Even in my university, we going to teach directly from like for 4 months already. So that's why the ADB have given us the forecast about 1.8 positive growth rate in 2020. And for next year, they forecast to have 6.3 growth rate in percentage in GDP. And the current account balance is still positive for this year and maybe for next year. So how about the other economic policy for the economy and for the export activity? Our government have launched our assistance packet around $700 million through tax breaks, delayed tax payment, and other reduction in land lease fee for firm, for worker, and other. Government has stimulated the public investment through infrastructure, street, the airport order, and on the monetary side, the Central Bank of Vietnam has easing monetary policy through the reduction in policy interest rate. And also, we try to stimulate credit supply for the firm in Vietnam. That's why the export just dropped significantly in April 2020 when the coronavirus outbreak in Europe and in US and also China. After that, the export of Vietnam recovered significantly until now. We have relatively the similar pattern of export in comparison with previous year. You can see on the figure in 2020, we have the recovery have same pattern with previous year. The down here in the beginning of the year is due to Lunar New Year in Vietnam when everything is shut down for Lunar New Year. So the export is dropped, but after that is recovery. That means the policy of government has been effective in containing virus. On the other hand, in recover the economic activity, including the exporting. However, they challenge in ahead, and Vietnam government had to, as my observation, we have to focus. The first, Vietnamese government has stimulated for the CPTPP Trans-Pacific agreement between 11 countries. In Asia, we have Brunei and Malaysia in the group. We try to implementing CPTPP for stimulate export and also for the economic relationship with other countries, for example, Canada, US, Australia. and other. The second action is that we have finished Europe and Vietnam trade agreement recently as I remember, last week. We have finished the dealing with each country in Europe to implement the Europe-Vietnam trade agreement. I mean that Vietnam government look at on the future in bilateral relationship and group relationship with other countries through the trade agreement with in CPTPP and EVFTA. That is our main strategy in accelerate exporting in Vietnam. However, when we look at on the detail on CPTPP, there are competition from other country in the group with our exporting. You can remember that one of 10 last export product of Vietnam is footwear and wood furniture. Now we have to reduce the import duty for other country in footwear, fishery product, rice, coffee, tea, paper, wood furniture. And another concern is that in Vietnam now the problem of identify origin of our product is a problem. I will tell you why later. And the second is that property right project protection in Vietnam is a little bit low, and that will cause us like we have less competitive in producing high quality product to export to other countries in CPTPP to Europe, like our two main focus policy to accelerate the export. Other minor measure in Vietnamese government in accelerate export. The first is they try to export face mask in the chain from pandemic. They try to now direct some firm to manufacture face mask. The second, in technical point, Vietnam government has put exemption for import tax in service of prevention and fighting of COVID. They also allow late submission of certificate of origin to 180 days. Previously, the time for submitting of CO only 30 days. And also they try to transform some textile business with the by government into antibacterial mask. And one of implication when I observe the changing policy of government is that we're trying to focus on domestic market. You remember that we have over 95 million citizens in total population. That's why it is a huge market. And Vietnam government maybe think that if we cannot export, we try to narrow down the increase the demand from domestic market to balance the shortfall in the international demand. For the last point, I want to summarize some challenge ahead. The first is the COVID and global market is still there. And I don't think Vietnam or other country in Asia will get vaccine soon because we cannot produce vaccine. We have to buy it from US, Europe, UK. But in the strategy of global market, these countries are the firm from who produce vaccine will not likely export vaccine soon. So I get that it's at least 1 or 2 years ahead for country like us can have vaccine. Because in COVID, if you cannot have enough vaccine for the like 90% of population, the immune system will not work. And if you just insect for like 10% of population have vaccine, the problem is that 90% remained may get COVID and the pandemic will go severely. That is the point. So that, I mean that in the short and medium term, the international demand for Vietnam product will still remain stable low, and we cannot just like hope that the pandemic will end soon. The second, as I mentioned previously, the way to identify origin of the product in Vietnam is still a problem. Like one of the comment for the first bit, they asked about the other certificate of destination for the product to export the product to advanced market. That's the problem in Vietnam because our production system is just characterized with the small and medium firm, while the government system to identify origin of product is still very ineffective. The third issue is the product quality and logistics performance. As you can see here, the industrial export quality of Vietnam is relatively improved in recently very quickly, but our quality of product is still below other countries in area, for example, Philippines, China, Thailand, Malaysia. And it limits our capability to have a high value added in export product. The second is our performance in logistics. Have tension on the Southwest Sea between Vietnam and China, so that we have only one main port for exporting and importing in the south. Meanwhile, in the north, they are limited the capability to for the last sale can come in and come out, so that the logistic performance in Vietnam is another problem. The third, we have over 500,000 businesses. However, only 10,000 a large firm. Over 99.9% of the business in Vietnam is small one. Small one means that their problem for if they want to export product. You are small, you have less capability to get the certificate of origin. You have low quality of product. You have less experience in entering in international market, and that is the problem. And I mentioned a far ahead challenge is that the climate change and natural disaster in Vietnam now we worry more about the natural climate change because we are most of our country alongside the sea, and the raising of sea level will erase out our land in the south where the agricultural production is implemented. And for other natural disaster, we have flood, we have storm, and that's erupt the production significantly in Vietnam. That's why our government, as my observation, likely do not have master plan like in Malaysia for industrial, but we are now concerned about the impact of climate change on the production. We want to sustain it for long term. And it is very challenging for government to show out that problem. And in overall, the last thing I want to say is that Vietnam have been very good in pandemic, in fighting against the pandemic. We also do relatively good in recover the economy and keep the exporting stable. However, the challenging ahead is still there, and we are still unstable in exporting. For example, most of the export in Vietnam may come from the foreign direct investment. We only have 1/3 of export produced by domestic firm. We are mostly firm in Vietnam as small one. We have less capability for competition in the international market. We have less capability to follow the rule of the world in the globalization, and we are facing to the challenge of the changing climate change, natural disaster, and other things will come. I think that this will come more frequently in the future, and that is my summary and my observation with some notice for the Vietnam acceleration in export from the government point of view and also economic factor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Phuc Nguyen. And now, hello test. Okay, and now we can move on to the next session. It is a discussion session, and I would like to invite all the participants who want to ask a question or give a comment. But before we start, I already have two question in the chat box. I would like to invite Mr. Muhammad Daniel. Hello, Mr. Muhammad Daniel. Hello. Okay, I think we can move on to the next. Oh yeah, we have it here. Yeah. Do you have any question?
Yes.
Okay, please.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Actually, I'm interested to ask question to the Dr. Nomazwana's presentation regarding the export diversification. Well, there is a current trend that services sectors also impose a vital role in terms of expanding the export diversification. Can you give some comments on the role of services sectors? Because currently, when we talk about global value chain, the role of service sector is getting more important because it is related to manufacturing sector as well, where it serves in terms of financing, it serves in terms of business administration. So how can we look at this in the future in terms of knowing the role of services sectors in export diversification? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Muhammad. And then we open for the next one is for, oh, wait a minute, because I have a list here. Miss Roya Hayatina. Miss Roya?
Yes, sir.
Are you still with us? Okay.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm the biggest fan of both of you, sir, and ma'am. So it's such a great honor to me. I can stand in this seminar. My name is Roya Hayatina. I'm a student in Economics Department IPB from Indonesia. If we are talking about the export acceleration and what lesson that we can learn from ASEAN's country, I remind of the RCEP trade agreement that we have saw before. But what I worry about is whether in the future this RCEP can be a breath of fresh air or even a storm for us. Despite that we know the cost that we are not participating in this agreement will be more expensive than the cost that we are joined. But on the other hand, I took one example model related to public-private partnership and MEA. They said that I have done before, especially for infrastructure development. Previously, there was a lot of scope that needed to pitch by the government in Indonesian country if we want to be not only cheerleaders in this cooperation, but also a major player. So I followed the development of this concept at the third RCAP summit in 4th November 2019 in Bangkok. So my critical point or my question is, we have entered at the end of these years, and of course, we all know about our current economic condition now, and this pandemic era, I mean, not only in Indonesian country, but also in the other country. So my first question is, what a great form of risk mitigation that threatened governments and academics need to prepare and to minimize the threat in RCAP models, because we need the standards to move on. And the second, if we all look at the opportunity that exists, how far is percentage? What should we do? The government in Malaysia, Vietnam, and Indonesia either with the community. I mean, to collaborate and prepare the ideal nation economic ecosystem. Maybe we can learn from Malaysia and Vietnam now before We also know Malaysia and Vietnam have a great financing concept to increase the growth of business sectors, especially for export acceleration. So maybe in the future we can compete optimally with the business actors in others country. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Roya. I think we can close the first session, and then after this, we will open a second session for discussion. So for all the participants who want to ask a question, please raise hand, and I will give an opportunity for you to deliver your question. And now I would like to give the first opportunity to Professor Norma Swana Ismail to respond about the question. Yeah, and the first one is about the role of services, and the second one is about the RCEP. Please, Professor Norma.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Daniel asked me about the role of services sector. So I actually agreed with him that the importance of services sector, especially to contribute to the export services. It's disturbing. Sorry. So export services actually is one of the key element in our export. So I agree with Dr. Daniel, because some actually the manufacturing sector actually should be combined with the export services, because as he mentioned about the transaction, the banking, the financial services, and so on. But I think the more actually we need to focus the way forward that looking at the services sector is more on the transportation, right? Because transportation and logistic, the infrastructure, transportation and logistic actually is it disturbing, Dr. Tony? Dr. Tony?
Sorry,
is it the line clear? The line is clear or not? Because
yes, it's clear enough for me. It's clear enough for me. Okay.
Because it's not clear for me. Sorry for that.
It's clear here.
Yeah. All right. Because in the services sector, when I can see that from Malaysia perspective, we are actually need to move in line with the manufacturing sector, especially for the transportation. We can see that there's a lot of actually component in the services sector. But I would like to highlight, as Dr. Dana mentioned, that is a very important component, is a complement, especially in the manufacturing sector, especially for the financial services, for example, transaction. But I would like also to highlight about the logistic, trade facilitation, because in Malaysia, this is actually the very important component in services sector. How actually we provide the services for the export. That, for example, in the ports, how actually the role of the logistic can be combined with the manufacturing sector. It is actually in the line, but the problem actually is we are not at that reach at the maximum yet, because of some actually if you look at the data, transportation services import actually is much more larger compared to transport services for the exports. So there's a gap, deficit in our services sector, especially in transportation, because I can see that this actually can be the key point that we need to focus and move forwards. Thanks to bring that the issue, because of course we are not actually need to look at from the services, but the infrastructure of the port also should be pay attention, because of when we look at for example Singapore, how actually the services in terms of logistic actually is number one in the world, other than Hong Kong. So you can see that we can learn actually what the services can be offered, okay, not only from Malaysian perspective but also for ASEAN perspective. Maybe I can also respond to RCEP.
Yeah.
The second question related with RCEP. Okay. When Dr. Fitra mentioned about the trade creation and trade diversion in ASEAN, okay, So I remember that when I did study about the AFTA, ASEAN Free Trade Agreement, that was 2003 or 2004. The intra trade between ASEAN members very low. Why actually very low? One of the reason actually we are actually producing and export similar goods. So that is why you can see that the intra trade within the AFTA members is very low. That is why in 2010 we have ASEAN Plus. Okay, if you can see that ASEAN Plus is ASEAN with China, Korea, Japan, plus with we have Australia, New Zealand, and 6 in India. So this is actually, you can, if you look at the study that conducted looking at ASEAN Plus, actually the potential to do to proceed the trade, to do trade with all ASEAN Plus actually is much more better off. Why? Because the market access actually much more bigger, and we actually tend to export and also import variety of goods. So this is actually is a very important for the export acceleration. So RCEP actually, if you look at RCEP, the country that actually is belong to RCEP actually is ASEAN plus 6. Okay, it's ASEAN plus 6. That is why instead of having ASEAN plus 6, okay, so when formulating the RCEP to include all these 16 members, okay, so I can see that plus India, right? So we can have, I read one article that said is the mothers of FTA. Can you imagine that, okay, how big actually the RCEP markets? Of course, Roya mentioned about the cost joining and also not joining, okay? So again, the RCEP actually is already been talked long time ago. So in formality or informality, okay, if you look at that, when we have ASEAN plus 6, okay, and with the implementation of RCEP, okay, so we can actually see, looking from the positive point of view. I can, of course, when we study about the RCEP, we can see there's so many actually the negative point of view, especially that who's going to be the leader. That's actually the big question. With China actually in the groups, in India also in the group, the two giant economies, they wanted to be the leader. Okay, so but my point of view, if you cannot compete with these countries, we have to be with them. Okay, we can actually complement from the export perspective, from the production perspective, from the investment perspective. We have to take the advantage. Okay, so we cannot lag behind. Okay, because so this is actually the leaders countries that will lead at the international trade, especially in China. Right, so this is actually my point of view, because I've been studying, related with China actually quite numbers of years, looking at we cannot compete with this kind of economy, but we need to complement with them. Right, so what actually the cost not joining or not to joining, you need also to look at the cost, the benefit to and potential that we will actually gain in the future. That's all, Dr. Tony. Maybe we can pass it to Dr. Nguyen to respond.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Normas. And then I would like to give the second opportunity to Dr. Nguyen to give a response to the two questions about the role of services, and then the second is about RCEP. Please, the time is yours, Prof.
Thank you. First of all, I likely agree with Professor Normal that if we can compete with them, we have to be be with them. I mean that when we cooperated with leading economy, even China, India, or other country, because we have to be concerned about the economy of scale. We are a small economy. We have small scale. We cannot get until the efficiency of the economy of scale. That's why if we cannot compete them, we have to belong with them. I mean that it is like a win-win situation. The second point is that I think that I quite agree with the comment in the top chat that the low bilateral trade between Asian countries, and I see a chat that Mirawati find the fish in Finland but cannot find in their province. That means I think there is still a room for bilateral trade between Asian countries because we have different culture. At the first speak, we have different in culture, different in religion, and different in like living standard. That's why we have more space to like export and import together. Even that we have like competition in exporting for manufacturing, like Vietnam export telephone, mobile phone, and machinery. Malaysia has same because we receive foreign direct investment in the sector. Foreign direct investment invest in our country like Vietnam, Malaysia for low cost of labor. That's why Samsung, like LG, like Toyota try to invest in Asian country, in our country for taking advantage of low labor costs. That way we have same range of export product. So from the point of view of Vietnamese government, as I observed, we trying to build ourselves. In Vietnam, we have a large corporation now, Vin Group. They try to produce our car. We try to produce our television. We try to produce our computer. But it is a long way from the beginning to have a good product to compete with international producer. However, government try to support large or unicorn corporation in Vietnam. And on the other hand, we try to now that the small firm to be a partner of that large firm. It means like we create an ecosystem of firm in Vietnam. The large firm is the leader who will focus on export, and the smaller one do like a middleman in production system or the value chain of the production. However, I don't know how about the potential of that strategy because we are on the way to doing that. We don't know whether it's a success or not. However, it creates some positive thinking in academic and in government guy in Vietnam until now. And we have now like 4 to 10 very large firm in Vietnam production system doing focus on the exporting, and other remain small firm trying to do a small job in the whole production system. That's the experience from Vietnam.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Nguyen. Now let's move on to the second session of our discussion, and then I would like to invite Miss Agustina Senjayani. Miss Agustina, are you still with us?
Yeah.
Okay. Please, if you have any question, please ask it directly to the presenters.
Oh yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity. To Prof. Wana and Dr. Nguyen, I would love to have your more elaboration about your main strategy to engage and also to empower and also to develop your small medium enterprises so that they could have standard compliant, especially in export. I'm sorry, I have a little problem, but with my line, I think.
Okay, it's still clear here now. Hello. Okay, I think I could help Miss Agustina because she already wrote her question in chat box. So She has a question with to Dr. Nomas and to Professor Nomas and Dr. Khan. If you don't mind, could you please elaborate more about Malaysia and Vietnam's main strategy to engage, empower, and maximize your small medium enterprises potential in terms of its competencies and capabilities on export standard compliance, particularly in this pandemic? That is the question from Ms. Agustina to both presenters. And then I would like to invite another participant. So do we have any other question? Please turn on your camera and turn on your microphone. Do we have any other question?
Yes, I have another question, Dr. Tony.
Okay, Pak Azul. Pak Azul, please, Pak Azul.
Right. Thank you, Pak Tony. Actually, my question to Dr. Nguyen. I think Dr. Nguyen have discussed very interesting topic, share with us the experience for the perspective of Vietnam. I have two or three questions. Maybe some of the questions already addressed by both presenters, so maybe I need some more elaboration. Okay, Dr. Nguyen has shared the latest data. It showed that the share of trade between Vietnam and ASEAN is very tiny. I think when I sum it up, fewer than 10%, right? So we know that ASEAN or after already established more than 20 years ago. So it seems that after it's still not optimized or still not a success to increase the share of trade between ASEAN. All right, so maybe I don't know what happened here. Is that this is the symptom, the Asia, the after it's not optimized the trade movement between us, or I don't know what problem here. Dr. Mazana already mentioned because the export similarity, so maybe another reason why this continues happen. My second question relating to small medium enterprise. Maybe you can share with us during the pandemic COVID, so how your government handle this issue. In other words, how to what I call maintain the SME. In other words, SME that's export oriented, so they can continuously survive in the market. All right. So how your government respond? Another question is, we know that in ASEAN region, I think last time we have various growth strategies, right? For example, we have IMT-GT, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand Growth Triangle. We also have IMS, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore Growth Triangle. We also have BIM Niaga, Brunei, Indonesia. So now I don't know what happened there. Is that this is the right time because we already in the consortium to make sure that this element of growth triangle we can think how to accelerate the growth intra-region, for example. Of course, in Vietnam you have Mekong Valley and there, right? Okay. So I don't know why this happened. So because the spirit is to increase not only the trade, but the the FDI intra-ASEAN should be improved by establishment of the growth triangle, right? So we don't know what is happened. Okay. Another question is relating to the current movement of FDI. I know that now the current trend is FDI move to Vietnam, right? From China move to Vietnam. So meaning that Vietnam, I think the share of FDI in Vietnam across ASEAN maybe 40% at this moment, right? So maybe Vietnam can share with us your strategy. Okay, so maybe I don't know what's your the advantage at the moment at Vietnam that can encourage more FDI to your country. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Zul. Because we have a lot of questions to Dr. Nguyen. So I would like to give the first opportunity to Professor Normas, and then later Dr. Nguyen will respond to all the questions. Okay, Professor Normas, could you please respond to the question from Ms. Agustina?
Yeah, the related with the SME, because
exactly.
of during the COVID, especially when during the COVID. Okay, so this is the short answer on the. Okay, maybe Dr. Nguyen will explain more from the Vietnam perspective. But during the COVID, of course, we can see that the most actually affected is small medium. Small medium enterprise. So therefore, lots of actually dana, the fund actually been injected in our economy. Is I think there's a 4 series of injection for fund during the we call it RMCO, Restricted Movement Order. Therefore, the specifically for the SME is reflects the fund that, for example, like grant, okay, how actually to come back to inject some of the money, okay, because we know that some of the fixed costs actually have been running out, especially when there's no businesses being conducted. We actually seen numbers of actually micro or small enterprise being closed down. However, the government actually take initiative to help the small medium enterprise, okay. But the good thing that not only grant, but also the government offered the scaling and also rescaling to upscaling. If, for example, that if the SME wanted to improvise in terms of utilization of digitalization, because now we are moving towards the e-commerce. Okay, so that is why the skilling and also upskilling, especially related with ICT and the usage of the what we call it, the virtual platform, so that they can sell more products online. So that's what actually I can share what is going on in the Malaysian case, that helping the SME during the COVID. Okay, thank you very much. Pass
Okay.
back to Dr. Tony.
Okay, thank you, Professor Nomas. And now I would like to invite Dr. Nguyen to give a response. Please, Dr. Nguyen.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Tony and Linda Wati and Kevin. First of all, the question is very interesting for me and also for Vietnam. For the first question, why the trade share between Vietnam and Asia, or even in country among Asian countries, is small. As my point of view, and also the presentation from Professor Noma, there is similarity in the product of Vietnam production and other Asia country production. For example, foreign direct investment, most invest in Vietnam is taking advantage of low labor costs. They invest in machinery, producing mobile phone, computer, Samsung, LG, Toyota, but they don't bring the real technology here. They likely bring the assembly job to Vietnam. And I don't know how about in Malaysia, but we have 2/3 total value of export come from foreign direct investment. Only 1/3 come from domestic firm. And most of them are the exporting in mobile phone, computer, machinery, others. That's why our exporting product between Asia country and especially between Vietnam and other Asian countries is a little bit small. We have similar likely product. We have a large agricultural production. We have a large machinery production, but it comes from foreign direct investment. They have same brand of product. For our, that's great upon that. Vietnam and other countries, we likely have low unit product. That's the world need and other country need. If we look at our product, what is our advantage? What is our special product that the world need? We don't have. We don't have really have big one. That's why, as I mentioned, Vietnamese government want to create our own product by supporting for large firm like Vingroup to create VinFast, to try to export our unit product to the world. And for the second point, it is the same question of Linda and Karim. What Vietnamese government had done in pandemic to support for SME? It's likely the same policy between Vietnam and Malaysia at the presentation from Professor Noma. we have a certain packet. Detailedly, government launched a certain packet by injecting money for firm to pay for worker. A certain packet to pay directly to the worker who lost their job. A certain packet to pay for interest rate from bank loan for firm who have been in loan contract with banking. On the second hand, they try to reduce interest rate. Our central bank forced commercial bank to reduce the deposit rate and also the lending rate, and easing the condition to get the loan. It means that the small firm can get the credit from commercial bank a little bit easier. However, the effectiveness of this policy is still in question. Until now, we have likely over 50% of the firm in Ho Chi Minh City where I live now, they are standby or stop production. The worker lose their job or temporary unemployment or permanent lose their job. On the other hand, the last firm trying to survive through the pandemic by roll over the worker in their production. One guy can work for 1 month and then stop working next month, and other guy coming. It is trying like semi-employment for the worker, trying to keep the money as possible. However, if you are now in Ho Chi Minh City, when you work on the street, you can see a lot of small firm get bankrupt. They sell their restaurant, they sell their store, they do not operate anymore. And second trend is that they're trying to move online because they don't have to pay rent for the house, they don't have to pay rent for shopping, for the shop, so that more and more small firms going online now. That's create another challenge for government in managing the small phone and especially in taxation. The third question is a very interesting question. I really love that. How about the intra-regional relationship in trade, FDI, for example, Mekong Delta River between Myanmar, Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, or Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia as a region. That is a great point that there should be more and more cooperation between countries in the same region. In Vietnam, we are trying to stimulate the cooperation between Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, and Thailand in the region of Mekong River. However, the difference in culture and strategy between countries still our very large obstacle. I see that there is potential to cooperation not only in economics but also in trade activity and FDI. However, likely the countries still have some like competition among each other for receiving FDI order. For example, as the Mr. Karim has mentioned, Vietnam now receive a lot of FDI from US and Europe who move from China to Vietnam. But that is not the full story. The real one is more. In Vietnam, we have two steps. The first, foreign direct investment come in, make a registration that I want to invest into your country. The second step, after they get the approval from government, they put the money in and build the factory, recruit labor, and do production. However, in Vietnam, there's very large gap between the registration and the implementation. A lot of people come in, they make a registration, but when they come in, they try to find a good labor force. They try to find a good place to put the factory. They look at more detail in the economic system and other, the less investment is implemented. And that's why Vietnamese government now have tried to improve the regulation, the administration system by do a very important strategy. We do fiscal decentralization. It means that central government transfer more power to local government, and each local government in each province have to compete together to get foreign direct investment come their province to put factory there, create employment, create job. And that strategy has been implemented for about 10 years ago and focused in 5 years ago. That's why the government in local provinces compete together to improve themselves, improve government, reduce tax, reduce the bureaucracy, reduce the document paper working for foreign direct investment, and try to extract more and more foreign direct investment come to their provinces to create employment and job. That's the reason why more and more foreign direct investment moving to Vietnam, but it's still the challenge for Vietnam because, as I had mentioned in the beginning, foreign direct investment come here trying to take advantage of low labor costs, and they very low spillover of technology to domestic firm. They do assembly of the product and export it. There are less connect between the local firm and the foreign firm for spillover effect in technology, in management skill. And that's our problem now. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Nguyen. And ladies and gentlemen, we are now 20 minutes past 11. That means we have to close this discussion session. And on behalf of the committee, I would like to express my sincere gratitude and my big thanks to Professor Normas and also Dr. Nguyen for your participation and your time to share your experience and also your insight in our discussion. And I would not summarize our discussion today because after this there will be a concluding remarks from Professor Firdaus. So once again, thank you very much for all the participants and also for our distinguished speakers. And I will hand over to the MC, Mbak Mutiara.
Thank you, Dr. Tony Irawan. Also, thank you very much for all the speakers today for the very insightful session. Moving on, we would like to invite Professor Dr. Muhammad Firdaus from Department of Economics, Faculty of Economics and Management, IDB University, to deliver the concluding remarks of this international webinar. Professor Dr. Muhammad Firdaus, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Muti. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We have been reaching 3 hours sit together. I think we have been reaching exhausted, yeah. Bu Normas, Dr. Chan, and Pak Fitra now is in show, yeah, with the Minister of Trade of the Republic of Indonesia. So allow me to share screen, yeah, just maybe like 8 or 9 minutes. Okay, to read the concluding remarks. Okay, oh, sorry, I don't think so. Can you see the word that I? Yes. Yeah. Okay.
We can see it clearly, Professor.
Okay, guys. Dear all participants and honorable speakers, Assalamualaikum. First of all, I would like to thank you have been participating in this first activity of CITWA. I'm glad to mention that until today there have been 180 registered members as we passed target to have 100 members until end of December 2020. And if you are convenienced, all members will be included in WhatsApp group. Of course, there will be a rule of conduct of this WhatsApp group. The only one rationale of establishment of this organization, CITWA, is sharing is better than solely competing. So sharing is better than solely competing. Then allow me to deliver some key points from our speakers and from discussion. First, from the Dean, ASEAN is very promising in terms of growth and trade. Some current situations such as COVID-19, etc., requires to have more collaboration. From the DG, Pakistan, parallel struggle with COVID-19 pandemic, currently opportunities of global trade have reopened. Containers and shipping are issues now. During the pandemic, our CEP agreement makes us closer and more integration. Every country must optimize benefits from this. For example, Indonesia may take the opportunity in low or moderate technology products as China has been winner of high technology products. From Papitra, ASEAN is very open and inclusive, different with integrated European Union. ASEAN is alone going nowhere. This country is Asian. This century is Asian century. Opportunity of trade integration must be taken. The keywords is trade flow or export as necessary condition for growth. Some challenges are such as ability of satisfying non-tariff measures and quality of labor will guarantee the benefits will cover all members. From Bu Normas from Malaysia, Malaysia experienced economic transformation from agriculture and manufacturing sectors. I mean from agriculture into manufacturing sectors. Diversification of export is very important, especially when encouraging trade among ASEAN. Malaysia's diversification export is successful regarding massive investment in manufacturing projects, from electrical into palm oil products. This brings Malaysia having the highest openness of trade among neighbors. In order to have more diversified of export, the ability to sustain a diverse of range of productive know-how and high technology export products such as aerospace and medical must be put on attention. Also, services sector and small and medium enterprises participation. From Dr. Kant, we learned that international trade plays very important role in Vietnam economy, where the domestic sector contributes 31% and foreign sector contributes almost 69%. Vietnam's export is dominated by manufacturing products, even though Vietnam's agriculture is very well known, but its contribution is still very low. Some efforts such as fiscal and monetary policies, trade agreements such as CPTPP and Euro-Vietnam FTA and put higher attentions on medical or pharmaceutical products regarding COVID-19. In summary, we still believe that trade is very important to keep sustainability of nations' welfare. Acceleration of export within and out of ASEAN may be encouraged by optimizing benefits of trade agreement, diversifying products and markets with continued support from fiscal and monetary policies. As mentioned by the Dean regarding encouraging CITFA activities, some agendas such as international seminar do hope next year will be conducted offline, yeah, if we can arrange together. International summer courses, yeah, maybe on the theme international trade, focus on Asian as core contents, and also research collaboration or other initiatives proposed by you all. Finally, we appreciated Department of Economics, Faculty of Economics and Management, IPB University, and committees for hosting this webinar, especially for my big boss, yeah, since morning, yeah, she is here, head of department, Ibu Dr. Sahara. Thank you very much. About organization, yeah, CIFA, we are processing the formal approval and also building the structure. We will discuss with you, yeah, this issue as soon as possible. See you all next in meetings and our agendas. Keep in mind CIFA. Assalamualaikum. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Muhammad Firdaus, for the comprehensive summary about this discussion, also about the important highlights about CITFA. Thank you very much once again. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we are approaching to the ending of this event. On behalf of the organizers, we would like to present virtual certificate awarding to our resourceful speakers today. The first certificate will be awarded to Dr. Kasan as our keynote speaker. Also, the second one for Professor Dr. Nunung Priyatono for delivering the speech and also launching the CISA. The third one to our wonderful speakers from Malaysia, Vietnam, and Indonesia, to Associate Professor Dr. Normas Wana, for Dr. Fitra Faisal, also to Associate Professor Dr. Normas Wana Ismail, and the third one for the speaker from Vietnam, to Dr. Ken Phuc Nguyen. Thank you very much for the discussion today. We would also want to give the certificate for the Professor Dr. Muhammad Firdaus for the concluding remarks. Thank you very much, Professor. And lastly, to our moderator today, Dr. Tony Irawan. Thank you very much once again to all the speakers for the wonderful session today. As a saying goes, to every beginning, there is an ending. And now we are really come to the end of this webinar. I would like to thank everyone for gracing this event by your presence. We truly appreciate it. On behalf of the organizing committees, I would like to apologize if we have done any mistakes throughout the event. I will end my duty as a master ceremony today. And thank you very much. I hope that everyone here are always healthy and always be happy. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam
Waalaikumsalam
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very
See
much.
you
Yeah.
again.
See you again. Okay, see you. See you.
Thank you
Okay,
very
thanks a
much.
lot. Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, we will discuss ya later ya, member.
Thank you, Pak.
Assalamualaikum.
Oke,
Selamat
makasih.
siang.
Selamat siang.